Father OWOWEYE was my parish priest of Our Lady Seat of Wisdom from the year 2007 till it's called to glory.
When Father OWOWEYE came, that was the first time that we were having a parish priest who was not a member of faculty in the university. So, of course, with Father Muyoth and then Father Adegbu, and before them Father Foley, all of them were professors in the university. So when he came, he had to settle in initially. So it was a bit rough because he came in his full character, and he would tell people exactly what to do. And there were some people whom we considered then infallible members of the parish, and so he would just insist on certain things, trying to do things well, and so he met with a bit of opposition.
So later, the father started working, and they saw his work. The first project father did was the toilet, the parish toilet. We were constructing. We had a committee handling the parish toilet then, but he didn't like what structures they put there. Father is a quality person, particularly when it comes to construction. So he started the committee and took over the toilet. When he completed the toilet, he appointed somebody to be maintaining the toilet. I tell you, you eat in the toilet. You can eat your food in the toilet. To tell you the extent of neatness in the toilet. There was water, everything. Next was the one another bedroom in my father's house.
We had this traditional chairs there from, those initial sets of chairs with poofs and, rugged things, but they were there in that place, and all the priests that had been there had used them. So he came and, he more or less changed the entire look of the interior.
I tell people the only thing for that you don't change in that house is the roof and the blocks, the wall. Everything for that change. So when parishioners saw this one,
we walked into that parish house, and I just saw the transformation. I said, wow, okay, this guy, this priest has come. He means business. Yeah, he means business, certainly.
So he started the church after doing this house. From the house, he got the parish office. We never had a parish office. I don't know how the previous priests were operating. He got the parish office, got somebody appointed as secretary. Then, meanwhile, the hall, the John Paul Hall was just pillars going to 2 floors. That's all. Maybe one side of the block is get that one. He started that one. The church itself, the pews were too old for fathers. He said, we have professors here, we have everybody, we have businessmen here. You can't look at the pew you are sitting on. He came and he said where he was coming from, or where he came from, people bought pews. By the time you know it, families started buying pews. Some bought 3, some bought 4, some bought 2. And quality pews. The ones we had, we gave them out to younger parishioners who were just up and coming parishioners, I call them. Then the painting in the church changed everything. He got friends, father had friends. He got people, early people who somebody bought our ACs. When people saw what he was doing, now people were also ready to give.
So that's how it started. And that at that time he was pretty young and all of that, but he stamped his authority, and then eventually he gained the confidence of members of the parish.
There used to be an Iroko tree, big forest. Our parish was a forest. It used to be a forest.
You had pebbles and you had sand and trees and everything, and it was just scattered bush.
When we removed the Iroko tree, it led to the establishment of the UI sawmill. Father changed the face of the university.
I remember one of our vice chancellors that time, Professor Adewole, said, can you see what we have done? That's UI for you. I just laughed and said, this is the Catholic community. It is not a UI project, but then he tried to take the glory because it is within the university community. And even at that time, before Father OWOEYE was able to erect all these structures, the community itself were trying to, or not allow him do what he wanted to do.
We had an encounter. I was dean then when I became president of the Lechi Council. We were doing the retention retaining work for the hall, and our people in UI, the maintenance people, they dug on the foundation of the retaining wall. And Father called me on Saturday morning. He said, "Prof, I'm going to do this thing." I said, "Go ahead. You have my back." Because he said the retaining wall could fall, and when it falls, it could cause accidents on members of our church, people who don't want to relate to us in the church, or anybody. It could really affect our church, but it will be said that retaining wall in Alice's of Wisdom fell and killed Suzu or damaged Suzu. We didn't want that. He said he didn't want that, and so we did that one. Then about 2 meters to complete it, they called me, the DVC admin, whom then called that the DVC was turned around. The DVC admin called that we stopped they want to put pipe water from Amina way to Queen's Hall. When they should have gone straight, it's a direction to Queen's Hall, but they just took a wrong route and they passing through our church. In fact, the interlocking function that Father did for the floor, those pieces were bruised, were trees planted there. Now, one day the maintenance came, we removing them without even cause that somebody is in the parish. If we are going to do that anything in the parish, you could have contacted the priest. There's a priest here. They didn't do that one. They did, but Father called me and said, "Father, let me talk to them." What they did there, you can't do that one in the mosque. They can't do it anywhere. They can't do it in the Chapel of the Revelation. When they were doing the road, I think Father was there. That's when the building was, the UI road. When they were doing the road, the signboard, we used to have a signboard to the church. They removed it. Their bulldozer cracked it. They just was, it's as if we were tempted on looking at how we do. For the Paul Hall, even their bulldozer cut one part of it. A building that is still standing. They are just tempting us. But thank God we got over this. The building there, the new building that is under construction, that's where our students used to read, and there was insecurity problem. In fact, the former house, the Father's house there, 2 times they attempt to steal, and Father actually allowed the students to read till late. Father, it's a prof, where do you want them to go? There's no light in their hostel, and here we can generate electricity for them. It didn't like the quality our students were reading, and that's why I put up that structure. For the university, we had our issues here too. I can tell you what pained me one day. The borehole water, the borehole structure, the machine that Father wanted to convert it to industrial borehole that can supply water around the day. But the machine that was coming to do that one day was stopped at the university gate for 2 days, and you have to pay for each day the machine stays there. So, 2 days before we got permission for it to come in.
At the time the borehole was made, there was no water on campus. It was like we were suffering, and God brought him, and he made borehole, and every member of this community, either you are a Christian or a Muslim or anything, even people from outside, will also come to the campus, to the Catholic compound, to fetch water.
I mean, forever people are so grateful for opening up the water system and things like that, making sure that people can come. I mean, people come here 24 hours to fetch water, as in you can drive in here, and I've done it before. I mean, coming late from the office, at 1 a.m. and I just say, okay, let me get some water, and you just drive in and you get your water and you go, and life was just, like it is, like Seed of Wisdom was a little heaven, as it were, here.
That was how he was able to assist the university community to have access to clean water at that time. And I remember that when Professor Ayelari became the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, I remember it was Father OWOEYE that advised him that you have to talk to your community. Maybe you people should make borehole in some strategic places so that if you can't get water, then what will happen in the campus? And those things came into being because of his love for our university community. God blessed him with the strength to develop our campus and to also touch lives. It is not just the lives within the Catholic community, within the whole campus.
Many of the women would say, for example, that he broke the class barrier amongst the women. So he just came and, initially I think it was during this time that we first had the president of the Catholic women who wasn't a university professor or university person at that time. So he broke those barriers and he made it clear that everybody was on the same level. And
I was not born a Catholic. I was a Muslim. But I later became a Catholic. My focus was to look at Christ on the cross and be able to understand and get the faith right. And I didn't want any distraction. And it was not that somebody invited me. It was Christ himself that directed me to the Catholic Church. I remember one weekday mass. Father OWOEYE waited outside before the mass and just came, please, I want to see you after mass. I was surprised. After mass, we met and he told me he wanted to involve me in the activity of the church. That was how I became so active in the activity of the church. It is not just the church activities alone. My own personal life, he was also interested. There was a time I had problem with my promotion, not coming on time. And I was so sad. He gave me all the encouragement. God told me, continue to pray. God will do it at his time. And I thank God that my promotion came to reality before God called him to glory.
There was no way that you wouldn't have one or two things, that you didn't agree with him about. But he was a child of the church in excess. I mean, everything he did, he had, an ecclesiastical backing for whatever he did, and he was constantly trying to push the frontiers of the church, and that's basically it. So eventually people got used to his character, and they began to enjoy his homilies, how he will tell you that if you haven't used a piece of clothing for a month, then you're a thief because you're keeping the property of somebody else, and then that strikes you.
It changed our life in this parish. Our giving. Collections in those days used to be very terrible. When it is offering time, what I will tell you is offering time, blessing time. It is in giving that you receive. That is sunk into parishional.
And things like that. And then he pushed so many things about parish registration and all of that stuff. And some of us were a bit resistant about that and saying, why must I carry a card about saying I'm from this parish and things like that? But he simply ignored those who did not want to participate and took on those who wanted to participate and didn't make a fuss out of it, and just moved on,
Here is the chapel in the rectory. This is one of Father's works. Father was a man of prayer. His breviary is still here. The different volumes of the breviary. The other volume is in his room. These are his prayer books. And with the Holy Bible, this place was Father's seat. Yeah, this is the front view of Oscar Welsh Rectory, Father's house. It was built by Reverend Father Ezekiel at the OWOWEYE. This was where Father was staying before he moved into the new Father's house, the old Reverend Father's house. It was not like the Father still renovated it to what we have now. Before us is the new Parish Center. The initiative came about when Father saw our students were struggling with studying out there, under rain, under sun, and Father told himself it will not continue like that. He had to do something, and so Father began this project. Now we are moving to the chapel. This is Seat of Wisdom Catholic Chapel, University of Ibadan. This structure was not like this. Father renovated it. The sanctuary, the altar, giving it a more beautiful paint. The pews were all changed, bringing everything to modern standard. Here, Father planned to also erect Chapel of Perpetual Adoration. Also, he planned to put a big statue of Divine Mercy here, if possible the biggest in the Archdiocese. He wished that this place becomes the center of mercy for people in the Archdiocese of Ibadan. There are other works that Father did, like making source of water to be available for people. This water is now a source of life to many in this community. Almost everybody in UI comes there to fetch water. This is Pope John Paul II Hall. Father, when he discovered that priests and religious were always stranded whenever they come for studies, Father built this to accommodate people, especially priests and religious, who are on studies. And as you can see, apart from the hall for celebrations, there are rooms, conference rooms, offices that accommodate people for various activities. It's a big hall, and it's also a source of income to the parish. The statue of St. Pope John Paul II. And we should not forget in haste that Pope John Paul II once visited this university. So, out of Father's initiative, being a man of history and a churchman, I want to believe that's also facilitated what made Father to build this hall, in honor of Pope John Paul II. And this is the statue. We are approaching the parish grotto. This is the grotto. This was built by a very Father OWOEYE. And this is the gate. Father planned to put a dwarf gate here.
Father is God sent to this parish, to this university, and he has accomplished all God has for him. We didn't mention polytechnic facilities again. The church there can swallow our church here.
Actually, the Polytechnic was under the Dominicans when I came. The Dominican priest who is at Shango, St. Christopher. I found that only one person there, the work was too much for Father OWOEYE there, Abiodun. And I asked Father OWOEYE, can I make Sitaba the Great of the Poly a mass center to UI? And they said, why not? If I give him, I'll do it. And I said, you also build it up. He said, no, we shall build it. So then I went back to Father OWOEYE. The Poly said that, well, if I take this center away from you, how do you feel? He said, please take it, because it's too much for me. So then I wrote a letter to him to say that Father OWOEYE is appointed, and I'm taking that away from him. And it started slowly. It was a shed. Poly chaplaincy was just a shed, in truth, with benches and all that. So much that the children didn't like it at all, because the mosque and the other church beside them, they were well built up. So that one was just a shed, the bush. So, but to the glory of God, within a short time, he built up that church, even with a rectory there. Built a rectory there, And the arena was also cleared. Every part of the land was cleared. So much that I loved it so much. And I started building, and the church was completed. And I was visiting there. First thing he did was he sank a borehole there. And people come there now to fetch water, whether you are Catholic or no Catholic.